Today's video, we're going to be looking at the new Kotobukiya ArtFX Gotham City Sirens, the Catwoman 1/10 scale pre-painted figure. Now, seeing as the figure needs this stand in order to stand, we'll count the stand when we check her dimensions. We'll go ahead and put the tape measure next to the figure, and we know that the figure is about 4 3/4 of an inch tall. And going back to what I meant about she's unable to stand on her own, the figure attaches to the rather shiny rectangular display base via the peg hole and via the peg that sticks out from the undersides of 1 foot. It's a metal post sticking out from one of the high heels that can attach to the hole right here. I'm surprised, as they've done this before with some of their other ArtFX statues, I'm surprised that the Catwoman here didn't rely just on a magnet. You put magnets on the undersides of both of her feet, and you could then put her anywhere that you want. Granted, the smaller footprint here is on this base. There's not as much space to clear and not as much space to work from. And I suppose you could still, even though she is limited to the 1 peg hole, you could still technically rotate the figure depending on which way that you want her to actually be standing. She could be slightly kind of leaning over the edge in which the fingers almost are just touching. It almost as if, though, looking at the way that the fingers are bent, that she actually favors more so having her hands completely flat planted against the surface rather than having her sticking straight out. She's slightly smaller than some of the other ArtFX statue pieces that we've looked at, but to be fair, you just move her over slightly. She does seem to fit perfectly in scale, of the same similar sizing to one of my all-time favorite pieces from Kotobukiya, and this was the Batman and Robin Diorama display. Now, this particular set had the magnetized feet on the undersides of the feet there, so you could put Robin and Batman, for that matter, in any way that you wanted on the display base. Like I said, Catwoman's a little bit more limited because she has a peg, but I think the two figures on a scale level seem to work relatively well with one another. The statue depicts here Catwoman in her more modernized costume. We'll actually just take her off the base for a second. It's a little easier to have a look at the piece itself. Really adore the face sculpt that they've given her. I love the little slight indication of a smirk there in the corner of her mouth. Her eyes are extremely pretty, almost given a slightly pastel treatment to her skin tone here. The goggles normally would be over top of her eyes, or she could go for the desired look of having the goggles up onto her cowl, and Kotobukiya favors that as well, as the goggles are further up. The goggles are not removable, they are sculpted in place, so if you do wish to have the goggles down, unfortunately you wouldn't be able to accomplish that with this particular figure. A very shiny, pristine treatment here given to the overall body mold here of Catwoman. The very tight material that she's wearing here I think is conveyed quite well in the statue release here from Kotobukiya. The very tight little indications here of the stretched wrinkles and creases around the shoulder areas, around the arms, and around the legs are all present here. It's almost hard, and I hope that the camera does justice to it, that it's not quite a solid, shiny black. Instead, it seems to almost favor a slightly glittery, almost metallic, dark gray, very borderlining between black and gray, as the light hits it just in the right places where you can see that reflection starting to reflect off of the surface areas here. The figure is otherwise a pretty dark costume character, but by using these elements of having the more shinier silver, it really does add and benefits from having the reflecting light hitting in different areas, so that basically all the areas here have these reflection points, and as you move the figure across the light source, you can really see how that light reflects very nicely across the material. Even the smallest of details are captured here on this statue. You've got even her whip that's wrapped around her. You can hopefully see it, her cat belt there. The claws, again, or hands, are slightly bent, as it's going to be draping themselves onto the base itself. The boots, as well as the gloves, actually now we're talking about gloves, both the boots and the gloves seem to be of the darker, straight black versus the contrast of the lighter, slightly lighter shade black borderline silver. It's a nice contrast, so it's not just all one consistent color from top to bottom. A nice little also breakup to that is her zipper, which is painted here in silver. There's a little looplet here, which does stick out slightly out from the neck area of the statue, so be mindful of that you don't accidentally clip this. This could be, of all the elements to this particular figure, probably one of the more fragile aspects. It is definitely, though, a beautiful head sculpt, going back to that once again. Normally, I'm not crazy when it comes to pastel skin pigmentation or skin tone, because it does make the character almost feel slightly lifeless. But they've gone in, and hopefully the cameras can pick this up, they've almost given it slight airbrushing of additional pink or rouge to it, so it does feel like there's a little bit more to it than just this pastel skin tone. The eyes are absolutely gorgeous, though, and I love the little panel outlining that they've done around there. And they've even gone in and painted the individual lashes on both her up and lower eyelids. The fact that the goggles are also translucent in nature, I'd love to see them down the road maybe release a goggles version of this where basically the exact same mold is captured here, but with the goggles over top of her eyes. I think that would also look very nice. One of my all-time favorite Catwoman designs, made by one of my all-time favorite statue companies. Kotobukiya once again delivers a really nice piece here with the ArtFX Gotham City Sirens Catwoman. She's a little on the smaller side, but fits in perfectly with some of the other Kotobukiya pieces that you may already have in your collection. If you are interested in picking this up for yourself, you should be able to currently find her in comic book stores. If you can't find her in comic book stores, make sure you get the person there to order this one in, as you would definitely want to add this to your collection. Today we were having a look at the new released Kotobukiya ArtFX Statue 1/10 scale pre-painted figure of Catwoman. If you guys haven't had a chance to hit that little subscribe button below, make sure you do so. If you also want to go back and have a look at some of my other Kotobukiya statue reviews, I've got a whole playlist designated just for that. More Kotobukiya statue reviews will be coming your way, so stay tuned for that. Other videos also coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.